Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Tribal Trades, the daily show coming at you from the great state of Florida. One hell of a drug. And I do want to welcome you to the channel wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about this is bad for Bitcoin. What is this? What is this? We're going to find out soon. Just smash the like button. This does help get this channel out to more people and does of course help support the channel, as does your wonderful comments that you leave. Thank you so much. And those of you who have asked questions, I do get back to those as soon as I am able to. However, if you'd like more immediate engagement, interaction with me, you can find me in the Discords below in the description of this video. You just click the more button. The description will pop out. There's some links there where you can find me in the Discord. I've got my own Crown Traders channel in there. I have my own Discord down there as well, the Tribal Trades Discord. That's closed, but you can get on the wait list for that. And then just above that, you've got the Stocks with Josh Discord. I'm in there sharing education, insights, resources, some of my trade setups, and of course entertainment, because this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. Are you not entertained? Okay. And so let's get into the news. We're going to look at the charts here. And of course, first and foremost, poly markets. Now, the poll on poly markets, the betting there is that Bitcoin is more likely to drop below 75,000 than to reach 100K. So this is bad news for Bitcoin if this plays out, because that could bring us into a left translated cycle and into an early bear market. Also, bearish. Fed Chair Powell says U.S. Central Bank does not need to be in a hurry to adjust interest rates. Again, this is bad for Bitcoin. So two pieces of negative news that have come out. Remember, Polymarket accurately predicted the election and a whole bunch of other things there, and it's predicting a drop below 75K. Quentin here says every single day institutions are buying Bitcoin, TradFi, crypto adoption, pro-crypto legislation passing, nation state strategic Bitcoin reserve talks, and yet price is dead, flat, depressed. Almost everybody is bearish. Again, we have all these bullish catalysts and they just keep getting sold off. But there is some, Quentin does also post here about how we do see the global money supply. There's about a 10-week lag. And if Bitcoin does follow the global money supply, we should see a little bit of upside. So there could be some light at the end of the tunnel. And maybe even though we could dip below 75K, remember, and not technically be in a bear market. And so we'll look at those charts in just a moment there. And also, on a positive note, after the US jobs report yesterday, and jobs were down, that is good for rate cuts, not good for those who lost the jobs, of course, but the market has already started pricing in more rate cuts. So now there's a 52% chance of a rate cut in May, 86% chance of a rate cut in June. However, it doesn't look like there'll be a rate cut in March. And so previously the markets had moved from 3 rate cuts down to 1 rate cut. Now we're back to 2 rate cuts. Let's see what shakes out there. But it does feel that there will be some kind of a rate cut, as I believe inflation will go down. And so also you have the issue is that the ETFs sold another 4,420 Bitcoin today. BlackRock ETFs was rarely ever selling. And now they're just selling off. And remember, I did warn everybody about this, that as soon as the 12 months was up of people holding the Bitcoin ETF, which the first big Bitcoin ETF buyers were able to sell Bitcoin in January. And when did we start to see the drop? In January, just after, literally about a week after the first Bitcoin buyers started accumulating. And we've seen sell pressure from the ETFs daily now for a while, and we need to see a reversal there. So I think the things for me is that all this positive news is coming out, but Bitcoin dropping is not good news. That's bad for Bitcoin. It's when you have bullish things that come out, and that's what happens, in a bull market. Any little bit of good news comes out shoots up the market, and the bad news seems to be immune to it, and the opposite when the market is very bearish. So I think that's bad for Bitcoin. I do think that Polymarket's predicting below 75 is bad for Bitcoin, and I think that the interest rate staying the same at the moment, a lot of people believe that they should come down, but they are standing firm for now. And I'm not saying whether they're right or whether they're wrong. I'm just saying they're standing firm for now, and that's not good for Bitcoin. And of course, all this good news coming out. And of course, we had the crypto summit, and no news really seemed to come of that. They did a lot of thank yous and introductions, and then the cameras had to leave the room. And so the rest of it was behind closed doors, and we're not sure what was spoken about there. Again, what I'm really looking for is some kind of tax exemptions or tax breaks or something there around where Made in the USA coins may get a little bit of a love there, or there may be some kind of where I shared yesterday, there was a rumor that you could pay your taxes in Bitcoin, and that would be, you wouldn't have to pay for any gains on the Bitcoin if you use that Bitcoin to pay for your taxes. So those are a couple of things that I'm looking for that could be some bullish catalysts. But what is left? Answer me below in the comments. What bullish catalysts are left? I feel the big one is going to be this one here. I think it's going to be rate cuts. If we see a rate cut, possibly in May there or June there's chances of rate cuts. Maybe there's a rate cut in June, and that would time up with usually when the market starts to flatline and then come out in July we fly. So there could be a lot more pain and downside to come. Be prepared for that. And we're going to look at the charts now as well. I'm going to jump in over here. And what have I always said about these big wicks? Now, this is a bullish wick, agreed, but it doesn't mean that it can't be, some of it usually isn't eaten up, if not all of it gets eaten up. And that's the concern, that if all of it gets eaten up and we fill this entire wick here, that remember what I shared over here, that if we lost 90K, and I've been saying this all along, and all of my presentations have been very, very much the same, preparing you methodically for what would happen if we lost that 90K area. I was very clear that if we lost the 90K area, that we were going to come down, and there was nothing there. You can just see there is not a lot of support, resistance. We went straight up, and we've now come down to fill these big gaps down here. Now, technically, we could come all the way down to $73,000. And you see this top wick over here, that wick there at about, what is that, about $73,000 there for that wick up there. And that could be where we come down to there. And we might find the bottom for Bitcoin here. Okay. Now, of course, that does mean we breach the 50 EMA on the weekly, and that's okay. It could also mean that we momentarily breach the 50-week moving average. That would still be okay. It's whether or not we have a weekly close below the 50-week moving average. These wicks here, it's what the close is doing. And as you can see, currently we're on Saturday. Tomorrow the market closes. Well, it doesn't close, but the price action closes. The market stays open all the time. Is right now, look at how we are respecting the 200 EMA on the daily. Now, in a bull market, buying the 200 EMA on the daily has tended to be very, very good investment, okay? Has tended to work out very well. So if we don't go into a bear market, this would be a time. Now, look, of course, that doesn't mean that we won't necessarily come down here because we did, or come down to here or here because we may. Just that usually price doesn't move very far away from the 200 EMA on the daily time frame. Now, this would be a little bit of a concerning move to move this far away down to here, but we did see it back in April and May of 2021. Let's go back there so we can have a look at some price action in April and May of 2021. All right, so I've just jumped to this just to save a little bit of time from getting there. So what you can see, I want you to take a look, is once we lost that 50-day moving average, it was really a quick move down to the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame, and really we stayed down there for a number of weeks, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we got here the 50-week moving average, and that's what I'm kind of looking at the moment, that quite likely is going to take place, that we do come all the way down to that 50. We end up losing this 20-day moving average, and we do come down and sit around the area, and then they're also on the 50-week moving average. You can see how important that was, and how whenever we did even have a couple of closes below the 50 EMA on the weekly. So in big corrections like this, we generally will lose the 200 EMA on the daily, just so you know, and the place to buy. So on a kind of normal corrections like we've seen, so we saw some corrections at 20 odd thousand, and then we saw 40, 28, 40, 50, 60, and then eventually we took off to 109. And so that was a really big move. And so now we're coming down to the 200 EMA on the daily, and we'll have a look at that at the moment. But as you can see in this big, deep correction that we had in April and May of 2021, how we came down to the 50 EMA, and then and actually we had to wait for the 50-day moving average to come all the way down. So we haven't seen that. So I actually think that we could stay down for longer, and we could go a little bit deeper. So say deeper and longer. We could go deeper and for longer, okay? And so this could just be, for altcoins though, could just continue to bleed out in a dip that keeps dipping. So be very careful about that. So now we're going to jump to the daily time frame here. So the lines are a little bit different. So now the 200 EMA comes into play. And so you see what happened in the last drop is we went pretty quickly through it, but we didn't stray very long from it. We didn't stray very long from it all. We kind of held the line there. Of course, as we see, we came down below that 50-week moving average, and that was our line in the sand there. And you can see how it came below, and we ended up coming all the way down, but we didn't stray very far from it. The difference that I am seeing, which is encouraging in the current price action, is for Bitcoin, is the 200 EMA on the daily seems to be holding up price a lot better. We're going to jump over to that in a moment, where we just kind of carved straight through it, stayed fairly close, retested, rejected, and then eventually came down to away to the 50-week moving average. To current time frames here on the daily, you can see that how we did initially lose this, but then there was quite a bit of support now for this level there. So that's what you're seeing. And of course, if history was to play out, then this is where we could see Bitcoin come down to the 7. And of course, if the poly markets are correct, then this is where we could see Bitcoin come down to the 75,000 level, the 77,000 level. Of course, there's Fibonacci levels at 79, and of course, maybe all the way down to that 73,000, which I identified before on that. Of course, resistance here, if we go to the weekly time frame, resistance is at the 21 EMA. So that is concerning because we did see Bitcoin bounce away from that quite a few times. And as that curls over, it can come up and hit on that and go lower. So there could be more downside for longer. Let's look at what the liquidation heat maps show us, because we're going to follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And as you can see on the 40-hour time frame, yeah, there is more liquidity there. So there's a little bit down there at 84,000. As we jump out to the weekly time frame there, we're going to see that there's going to be more to the upside. There is a little bit down there growing, about 100 million down there at 84. So wouldn't be surprised if we came down below that 200 EMA on the daily and then maybe pop back up. But it does feel right now it's a deviation outside of the $90,000 to $100,000 range. I'm not yet ready to say, hey, we're going to go down and create a new range for a little while. I'll say a deviation. It might continue like that, where we have a deviation outside the range, come back into the range, have another deviation outside the range, just where we saw where Bitcoin went up to 108, came back into the 90 to 100K range, then went up into 109, then came back in the 90 to 100. Now we've come down below that 90K region. Is this just a deviation, or are we going to go lower and have some deeper corrections? If we jump to the monthly time frame, we're going to see more liquidity to the upside. So I do think at some point we are going to come back into that 90,000 range, and I do think we're going to come back up to 100K. I do think Bitcoin is going to return to 100K. Again, the line in the sand is we want to get above 100K and create a new range above where we can create a new all-time high. There's still a little bit down there at $81,000. So I do expect some more downside. I do expect us to come down and retest those lower areas and fill more of that wick. And of course, when we move to the 6-month time frame, the areas really to look out for there are the 75,000. There is a fair bit of liquidity, not as much as what we looked. Oh, this is Bybit actually. We're on Bybit. Not much of a difference, but let's look at Binance. There seems to be more liquidity there to the downside. There we go at around 74,000, billions and billions and billions of dollars, around 74, 73. If I'm the market maker and in these kind of conditions, if it's me, I'm probably going to get that. I'm going to get those. That'll scare the pants off a lot of people. And then I'm probably going to send it up to 100K, maybe even get lower down here at, I'm probably not taking it down to these low levels unless I'm prepared to take it into a bear market there, which would be a very early bear market and a left translated cycle there. So that's how I see things at the moment. Hope to see you all in the Discord, or until the next episode, happy trading.